What up, buttholes? It's time once again for another episode of This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs. He's Ben. I'm Hobbs. This is the Gray Devil, Smokey.
Hopefully more well behaved than mine.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's kind of a jerk.
Well,
He's
thanks
all right.
for joining us, whoever managed to join us. I think everybody with the podcast went live. I had so many notifications on YouTube about so-and-so's live now, so-and-so's live now, because Trump was indicted, in case you didn't know. I'm sure you do.
Oh, yes, well, they finally got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yes. They say you can indict a ham sandwich, and it took them, 3 or 4 weeks to finally indict Donald Trump, so he's less criminal than a ham sandwich.
And what did I see just now? That NYPD is on high alert, and the governor's thinking of activating the National Guard in New York. Apparently, they think there's going to be a massive riot or something. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen much of anything about it. I heard a little bit towards the end of the day. My brother sent me a text message saying that it had happened, but I haven't seen a whole lot. I caught a brief clip of Vivek Ramaswamy, the guy that's also running for president, and in a big man move, he stood up for Trump. You know, normally in our cutthroat political environment, when one of your political opponents suffers a setback, it's usually time to spike the football and do an end zone dance. But you know, he was on Trump's side, so you know, good on him for being a bigger person.
Yeah, I mean, way to hand him the nomination at this point. If there's any way to fire up Trump's base, this is it.
Yeah, and even Republican-leaning independents have got to look at this for the farce that it is.
Yeah, I don't understand the Democrat move here, unless they think that, well, Joey Boy beat him last time. Surely he can beat him again.
Yeah, that is one possible theory that I have heard floated around. Like, oh, he's been beat before, and it's like, y'all motherfuckers cheated.
Yeah. Well, even if you don't buy into the the ballot stuffing and stop the steal stuff, you have the whole tech industry collusion angle that will not be helping in this time.
At least not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter. No, I mean Facebook,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean everybody's aware of the bullshit they were pulling, colluding with the tech industries. They'd have a hard time pulling it off again.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure how true it is, but I believe I heard somewhere that June or maybe July, Trump has a exclusivity agreement with the board of trustees behind Truth Social,
Mhm.
which is why he hasn't posted anything to Twitter yet. And everybody's like, "You need to get back on Twitter. You need to get back on Twitter." And he's only posting on Truth Social. And I think it's because he has an exclusivity agreement. But once that thing gets up, I'm back.
Well, I thought Trump owned Truth Social. Is that not the case? Do you know?
Well, he's as far as I know, he's like the prime mover behind it. But there is like a board of trustees and all that other stuff. I mean, he's not the sole funding person. So other people who dumped a lot of money into it have a say.
I mean, have you ever been
And
on there? Is there anything on there besides just Trump posts?
I haven't been on there, but from what I've been able to glean from screenshots of people who are on there, you've basically got two types of people on Truth Social. You've got hardcore Trump MAGA types, and you've got crazy left wingers that are trying to troll the hardcore Trump MAGA types, but because the left can't meme, they end up just be clowning themselves.
Oh, well, that sounds like a fantastic place.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's not
I
like
didn't think I didn't think that anything could be more toxic than Twitter, but I think that Truth Social just might be.
well, it's not like Rumble, who's doing a pretty good job of carving out a market for themselves. It's not like it's just a bunch of MAGA people over there. And you
Hmm.
can find a lot of content on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Russell
Facebook's
Brand is on Rumble.
just got a TOS violation. I don't know what that would be for. Yeah, whatever, Facebook. We haven't.
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore what they consider.
I think they just have us on a timer and dump us.
It kicks off.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, so Rumble's doing a good job because they've got a very hands-off approach. It's not just the MAGA people that are over on Rumble. And you got, like I said, you got like Russell Brand and Jimmy Dore and Tulsi Gabbard. You got some left of center people that are on Rumble, and they're doing it because they're the principled left of center people. These are the people that are still anti-war. These are the people that are still hardcore free speech advocates. The sort of people that have that that 1990s Democrat Party
Mhm.
standpoint rather than just obey the party at all costs.
Right.
Which yeah. So yeah, those guys are over here and good on them. I don't have any pull over here, but welcome.
Yeah, I should keep more eye on Rumble. I never know if we have people commenting. It doesn't push them through. Drought over here, day ended particular clowny. I'd say, yeah, we were talking about that at the top of the show. Everybody went live on. If you follow YouTube, live streamers and whatnot, all of them went live when the Trump news dropped.
Yeah.
It's like I think my main feed on YouTube and Rumble was just Trump indictment, bunch of thumbnails.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know how they're talking.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you talk about on the Trump already got indicted? Woohoo!
Yeah, it's such a clown show. I really think that they had to shit or get off the pot, in essence, because they were already, everybody's like, oh, the walls are closing in is like the big talking point, and they've been closing in for the last 5 years. It's like the trash compactor in Star Wars moving at the speed of smell. But yeah, the walls are closing in. The walls are closing in, and then there was like, hey, here's 600 pages of exculpatory evidence that you didn't give up during discovery. It's like, oh, we're going to take a pause on this for a week and see what we should do. And then they just decided that, listen, we can't just hype this up and then give people nothing. So this Alvin Bragg guy, he pushed for the indictment. The grand jury indicted, probably at his insistence. And if you think that, oh, you can't interfere with that, just get real.
Yeah.
Like, come on, right? Yeah, but the grand jury decided to indict. And, I mean, it's a New York jury anyways. But the grand jury decided to indict. He is indicted now. He hasn't been arrested or anything or extradited from Florida. And I think that once that moves on to any kind of a formal trial where formal discovery comes up and all of that evidence has to be brought to light, I think they're going to throw this Alvin Bragg guy under the bus.
All right. Fun moment for Trump. Stay in Florida. DeSantis refuses to extradite him. Now what?
Right. Yeah. So there was a little bit of a 4D chess thing that I think was going on, and maybe I'm giving the Democrats too much credit. They all seem to be pretty cognitively impaired on this sort of stuff. But, maybe this was something to keep Trump in Florida, this looming indictment, the possibility of an extradition, because a Trump DeSantis ticket would probably be unstoppable, and it would probably be their worst nightmare. Mm-hmm. But you cannot have the president and vice president from the same state. And it would be super easy for Trump to just change his residency back to New York, and there you go. So having this indictment come at him from New York might just be a way to keep him in Florida. They could threaten the indictment or have the indictment, threaten the arrest, and then that puts Ron DeSantis in a tough spot. Do I extradite Trump and allow him to go back to New York to possibly stand a very rigged trial and end up becoming ineligible for president? Or do I stay on his side, block the extradition, but then block my chances of becoming vice president? Very, very, very tricky.
I mean, that's an excellent road for him to win over the MAGA voters, though, if Trump decides not to run, which I'm sure he will. I mean, he's all but announced at this point, hasn't he?
Well, Trump has announced.
Oh, he did announce that he is running? Okay.
Yeah. Trump has announced. DeSantis hasn't. And everybody's like, are you going to announce or not? There's a lot of hay being made about the possibility of a Trump DeSantis feud. Like, oh, it's heating up. Oh, they're slinging barbs and insults at each other.
That's all politics.
Yeah, but what if it's all kabuki theater?
Right.
What if it's just for the media's benefits and they're secretly like, secret handshake homies behind the scenes? And then, it comes out, the very last minute Ron DeSantis hasn't filed for president, hasn't announced a run or anything. It's like, oh, by the way, my running mate, Ron DeSantis, best running mate. People say it. Everybody says Ron DeSantis, possibly the best future vice president. And they'd be like, shit.
I mean, yeah, it sets him up for the future too, I guess. If DeSantis sits in the VP off. Now, what are the rules on that? So you can only run for 2 terms. Is it 2 terms consecutively? I don't know if is this situation ever popped up before. So for president,
Trump? Yeah. If Trump wins in 24, then he's done. It's not 2 consecutive terms. It's just 2 terms. Grover Cleveland was a non-consecutive 2-term president.
Okay. So I mean, yeah.
Which by the way, if Trump were to grow a Grover Cleveland beard, I think that it would be following tradition.
Well, I wonder why Trump doesn't grow a beard. But yeah, so I mean that sets up DeSantis. That gives him 12 years of the presidency, maybe at that point. If Trump wins it and then DeSantis gets the next date. And the track that the Democrats are going, that's a real possibility. I mean, they've completely lost touch.
Especially if they do a good job, which, it's hard to do a worse job than what we've got going on right now.
I mean,
but yeah, it would be the smart move for DeSantis to do 4 years as VP and then a possible 8 years as president, rather than trying to duke it out and, shit all over each other and leave a bad blood taste in your other opponent's mouth.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, they're I'm assuming they're going to run Biden again. They have no other option at this point. Even though he's getting more and more senile at this. Joe Rogan had something the other day talking about how off the rocker Biden is, and nobody even acknowledges it. They don't, nothing. I mean, like, did you see, this will segue in the next segment maybe, but when Joe Biden came down for the press conference after the shooting, and all he did was talk about chocolate ice cream?
Yeah, it was very tone deaf, very weird. It's like he didn't even know why he was there. It was just so, and then, like, if you're being accused of being a kid sniffer and a latent pedo, don't lean into that. There's a lot of like unflattering things that you could lean into and just sort of like embrace the meme and stuff. But when it's something like child molester, not a good look, right? So he's up there rambling on about chocolate chip ice cream and how much chocolate chip ice cream he has in the freezer. And then he's like, just like freezes. He's like, who are those good looking kids in the back? And it's like, dude, whoa. It's like shiny object or something. Somebody, are all four of those kids yours? Oh, stand up. Let me take a better look at you. It's like, bro, chill out. And the thing is that it was so rambling with the chocolate chip ice cream and then the good looking kids and everything. People thought it was an AI produced deep fake at first.
Oh, really?
There's no way that this is
there
real.
Was an audience of people there, and they seemed to be laughing at all his, whatever you would call them, jokes or ramblings.
It sounded like a sitcom laugh track. He's like, my name's Joe Biden. Ah! It's like, that's not a joke. I'm married to Jill Biden. Ah! It's like,
what? Where's this guy stashing his ice cream up there? You think he's got a big old freezer in the Oval Office, or?
He said he did. He's like, I got a whole bunch of chocolate chip ice cream upstairs, and everybody, oh, he's like, oh, you think I'm joking?
I don't understand. It's like, what is it? Him and ice cream? It's so weird.
There's a thing that I read once that giving somebody ice cream that has dementia will kind of level it out.
No shit.
Like the temperature and the roof of your mouth and the sudden infusion of sugar like does something. When you have like a dementia rage incident, give them ice cream, and it kind of chills everything out.
But yeah, and his appearances are getting less and less and less. I mean, that's obviously why. This is the first time it'd been 3 or 4 weeks that he'd been out in front of people talking without a handler, and boy, it's obvious why at that point.
It's elder abuse.
Well, and the Rogan's point he was making is just how nobody's talking about it. I mean,
they just act like it's not happening.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And they think this guy can run for 4 more years. I mean, they just need to cut their losses and start finding somebody now. But like I said, I don't know who they would have.
Yeah, they don't. All their people with name brand recognition in the past 3 years have completely shit the bed. Kamala doesn't know where she's at half the time, and she doesn't have old age or Alzheimer's as an excuse. She's just dumb. Pete Buttigieg has been the transportation secretary under which the entire American transportation infrastructure has crumbled and collapsed and died. Who else would there even be? Eric Swalwell. It's like common knowledge now that he was stooping a Chinese spy. You have Adam Schiff, the whole Mueller investigation and the Russia probe and all of that stuff that he had just totally hung his hat on. fell apart.
I mean,
so
Manchin would probably
nobody.
I mean, but there's no way he'd make it through primary.
No, he wouldn't, because he's hated amongst the Democrats for being a surface level moderate. So
I mean, he'd probably be a pretty good president, honestly, as far as Democrat presidents go.
The only person that I've heard floated on the Democrat side that would get some grassroots support, he wouldn't get any party support. In fact, he would be tore apart by the party, but a Democrat that would run would be Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can imagine if he would survive a primary, I mean, him and Trump are buddies. Yeah. So, like, it would be, I would think it would be one of the most cordial general election debates ever. But, Robert, I like you. I agree with you on a lot of things, but on this, I'm going to have to disagree.
Gavin Newsom, he ran he wouldn't get anywhere. I mean, he'd probably have a really good chance of making it through their primary, but I mean, he wouldn't stand a chance in a general.
Yeah, you got him. You got Whitmer. You've got, I mean, who else? Maybe Michael Bloomberg could come back. I still got those alt Mike memes that didn't go anywhere the last time.
Yeah, they've lost so many governorships around the nation. I mean, a lot of time that's your farm team for finding candidates, and they've lost so many that, I mean, there's only a handful. You got California, Hawaii, obviously New York, but 6 or 7 states out of the 50 is not a very good farm team.
Yeah, and the states that they do have are doing very, very poorly on the U-Haul index. Most people are fleeing those like rats leaving a sinking ship.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the GOP is they have too many potential nominees. So True. It's a bloodbath during the primary.
But, iron sharpens iron, man. And they could very well end up exposing each other's weaknesses and then using those as, something to learn from.
Yeah.
And depending on how bad it gets and whether or not they could swallow their pride. I mean, let's just say, for example, Trump gets the nominee. He changes his residency back to New York, runs DeSantis as his VP. And then you've got this whole field of people who were running as president that might not have been very good presidential material, but they might have been good material in other cabinet positions. You got that Vivek Ramaswamy guy. He's
sharp
economy. Yeah, he's on point with a lot of stuff. And he was on, I think, Laura Ingraham today. After he said the things about Trump and this indictment, he said some things about what he's running on as president. And these were libertarian talking points. I'm going to abolish the Department of Education. I'm going to abolish the Department of Energy. I'm going to abolish the the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I'm looking at either abolishing or cutting the IRS by 90 to 95%. Looking at abolishing or cutting the Federal Reserve employees by 90 to 95%. These are all things that a libertarian should look at and just be like, just mainline. Just give it to me. Give it to me straight.
The thing is, those smart candidates don't appeal to dumb America, and that's the dum-dums in the middle of the Democrat Party and the GOP Party that don't really pay attention to anything, don't know shit about anything, right, and just vote their party line. That's how we end up with the Joe Biden and whatnot.
Yeah. Now over here, in the comments, he said Big Mike, and he's not talking about Mike Bloomberg. I think he's talking about Obama.
I mean, yeah, that's an option.
It's a possibility. She has the name recognition. She's still favorably looked at by the majority
she's trans,
of Democrats.
So she's a shoe-in.
Yeah. Trans woman of color. Although with what happened, the trans thing might not be in vogue much longer. So who knows?
Boy, if there's ever been a trans male who's got the male experience down pat, it was this last one.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So for anybody who's not aware, who's been living under a rock for the past couple of days, there was a school shooting in Tennessee, in Nashville. A woman pretending to be a man entered a Christian private school and killed 3 9-year-old children and 3 adults. And of course, hearts.
And big respect to the school. The only reason that 3 kids got killed is because they just happened to be in the hallway when she blasted in there. But they had everybody locked down, and she was trying to get more, but she couldn't. So this school did a great job. I mean, just so happened, there was some kids out getting a drink of water or something when she shot through the front doors, and those are the only targets she got. And then the adults ran out and gave them time to lock down the rest of the kids.
Yeah. So the manifesto is still being kept under lock and key, but the disguise was wafer thin, but you could tell that an effort was made because Aubrey Hale is
could you back up a little bit to that manifesto? Has that been released anywhere? I was looking for it, so it's bad then.
No.
It's like.
Yeah, and we all know what the reasons were. There's not going to be a whole lot. The things that we do know is that this was not the first target for this person. They were intending to go to at least, I think, 2 other schools before they settled on this one. But they settled on this one because of a lack of security. As a private school, they were not entitled to a police resource officer from the Nashville PD or from the State Patrol. And I'm going to assume that they either didn't foresee any type of an incident on their campus, or they just couldn't afford a private security. Now, that is probably going to change after this. They're probably going to have either some disabled vet who can still pull the trigger offer to do it gratis, or donations are going to flood in to not just them, but to other private schools with no security around the country. And awesome. You love to see it. That's charity and free market voluntarism in action. But yeah, this was not the first target. Security was the reason that
somebody over here props to the cops for wasting no time. Yeah, they hauled ass, flew in.
It took them 10 minutes to get there and 3 minutes to find and neutralize the subject. So,
Yeah, about time some fucking cops had done it right after Uvalde.
Yeah.
And it sucks to say it, but it seems like America's finally getting the school shooter thing figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something you have to, if there's something your country needs to be prepared against, I guess that's one of the things you want. I feel sorry for these soft countries that if something starts happening, they get school shooters. Or just, huge learning curve.
Yeah. And, you can, speaking of that, before we go back to the incident of this, you bring up a good point. You'll always hear these Euro weenies and other foreigners and other people talk about how, this just happens in America. This just happens in America. It happens. No, I'm not going to say a lot, because it doesn't happen a lot in America. And when it does happen in America, each incident, it happens. Okay, so it happens more frequently in America, but it only usually has a victim count in the middling single digits, with a few exceptions. When it happens in other countries, it does not happen very often. But when it does, you've got Anders Breivik in, what was that, Norway, where he killed 147 people in a single sitting. So in America, you could have somewhat frequent with low body counts, or you could have rare with insane, like battalion levels of
Well,
massacres.
I'm going to back up again too. Do you remember? What was it? 2 or 3 weeks ago, that all those fake calls went out for school shootings across the Midwest and a little bit on the East and West Coast. Do you remember that? They even had some
No.
here in Nebraska. It happened at my daughter's school. And my daughter was like, why would somebody do that? And I said, well, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think this was just research. And, Mikey's, and when the facts on the story started coming out, they looked at some other schools, but they had armed guards. What do you want to bet that there were people watching these schools that they called in, check and think? Here's what pisses me off. The feds were all over the Boot Boys, right? Infiltrated all their chats, glowies
Right.
everywhere. How do we know there's not some sort of underground, trans progressive thing? And the feds have completely ignored it because the government sold out to progressives. So why would they monitor all their chats and whatnot?
Yep. Yeah, we were just talking about some of this. There's the groups like the Socialist Rifle Association and the John Brown Gun Club, where you have, they're not going to be at the level of some of the people that we know and interact with, like real pipe hitting motherfuckers, but they're better than the, Walmart JanSport bag full of AR mags and like
a sub 2K
a bandolier around your neck, Yeah, right. So, those types of people are the ones who you really have to be watching out for, because they are training, they are building networks, they are in that space. Frankly, they're kicking our ass. Like, I know you, but you live several hours away from me. I know the guys in the group chat that I chat with, but they live all over the country. I have my brother an hour away. I have Plains Prepper there, the guy in the chat. He's a half an hour away. And I have his brother too. And I got a few other people that I could lean on in a sort of crazy shit hit the fan situation. But, I moved to a new town. I have nobody here. And that's on me, because one, I'm busy. I've got shit to do. And, it's like, I actually have a job. Yeah. Sorry, when you work, but two, it's also like, I'm kind of antisocial. I like to sit back and watch more than interact with people. So, because people are typically stupid, but they are kicking our ass in that.
Well, I think the feds have just been ignoring, because they're like, oh, it's they're progressives, they're transsexuals, their chats probably aren't worth monitoring, I'm sure, is what, there's probably nothing going on here.
Right. And that's the other side of the coin too. It's like, any time that you reach out to some people that are like-minded politically on the, the political right of center, like, hey, we should meet up. We should have a barbecue. We should do some target shooting or whatever. It's like, oh, it sounds like something a Fed would say.
I'm going to say they're not half wrong. I mean, the feds are everywhere for right-leaning groups.
Right.
I mean, we get glowies messaging our page still once in a while. I mean, so get the glowies and the trans groups, What the fuck?
Yeah, that seems to be more fertile.
I was just so disappointed that I had said that. I said, what? It's probably just somebody scouting schools to see where they want to hit next. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm sure the FBI would never let it out. The FBI does a little research and they're going to find she's in all sorts of groups coordinating this shit. You know what I mean? They don't want to look like they were dumbasses and weren't watching, when they've been watching a bunch of guys like you and me who aren't doing shit.
Yeah. Like as much as it hurts to say it, we just kind of talk a big game.
Yeah.
We haven't really done anything. I mean, we're more on the reactive side of the spectrum than the proactive side of the
they've
spectrum.
Had a wild hair up their ass about it,
So,
and even before January 6th, they were all over it. Probably that stupid ass Charlotte,
and that didn't help anything.
Really kicked them off, and that was probably arranged by them anyways. So,
yep,
and maybe it's because Glowies have a better time impersonating somebody right of center than they do acting like they're a I don't know, some progressive trans psychotic person.
Yeah, because when you're in federal law enforcement, you typically have to have a short haircut and be in a decent amount of shape and dress a certain way. And those are hard habits to break unless you're like some deep undercover, that, like, for instance, like me, man, I am 11 years out of the military and I still cannot wear jeans. I don't do it. Like, I own nothing but cargo pants because I need my pockets, right? I wear jeans and I wear my combat boots because I spent so much time in them. They're comfortable, and it would be a very difficult habit for me to break, to be like, okay, I'm going to put away the multicams and bust out a pair of fucking Dockers khakis.
Well, you make a good point. Maybe, I mean, we need some Glowies to start stuffing 5,000 calories a day in and bulking up and taking estrogen and dyeing their hair pink so they can start infiltrating these groups, I guess.
Man, like, why would you?
When the other Glowies call them gay. But anyways, back to that shooter. I took us off on a ramble there, but she got in there. 3 kids, 3 adults. They splayed her out.
Folded like a cheap suit.
The memes that came out of that shit. Did you see the thing with the shoes too?
Yeah, I think that was just some low res stuff. I don't want to get that tinfoil hattie, but yeah, one of the fun memes that I saw was only a woman changes their shoes this often.
And she had that manifesto. What'd she take in there? An AR-15 and a sub 2K and a handgun. Haven't heard about. I mean, I'm sure she purchased them legally.
Yep. Apparently there was a lot more too. Like, her parents said she had like 7 guns, and because she was seeing a counselor and having the typical
testosterone's a hell of a drug
stuff that was going on.
I feel bad for these women that just start taking that shit. I mean, we've been learning how to deal with testosterone our whole lives. I can't just imagine pumping some female at 25 full of testosterone and not knowing how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's almost like male and female bodies are built differently and meant to handle different things.
You get too much testosterone you can't handle.
Yeah, like,
I mean, you're fucking raging out and shooting up a school. You get too much estrogen you can't handle. You're crying in your bathroom eating ice cream. I mean, you can't compare the two. I mean, I want to say these people. Yeah. These trans people that get testosterone probably need to go on a watch list. And I hate to deny firearms, but shit, maybe they need some firearms removal until they learn how to cope with that shit for 5 or 6 years.
I don't think I would go that far. I would like a little bit more education about the dangers of massive male.
You know what? If you want to fucking jack yourself up on testosterone, you're giving up some rights, is what I'm going to say. So if we're going to deal with you being a fucking weirdo jacking up on testosterone, you're going to lose something.
Yeah. The oh shit, I had a point that I was going to make. But oh yeah, so about
Mhm.
the education angle of things is a lot of these people that are getting into this, they don't know, because knowing about the potential side effects of some of these hormone replacement therapies and the surgeries and everything, they did a poll where they asked teenagers who were considering double mastectomies, female to male transitioners. These women were under the impression that if they changed their mind, their breast tissue would grow back.
They just will them into
That's the
being.
lack of education.
I mean,
Right? Yeah. It's like, oh, if I change my mind and I I'll take these puberty blockers and I get a double mastectomy, but if I snap out of it and change my mind, then I'll go through a later puberty and I'll get my tits. And it's like, no, no, that's like saying that your finger is going to grow back if you amputate it. It doesn't work that way. And the thing is that the lack of education is on purpose. They can't allow you to know about these things, because then more people would be like, whoa, whoa, I didn't know that, shooting up 500 nanograms of testosterone a day when a woman's body only produces what, like
right.
1 or 2 nanograms. It's like, I didn't know that would put me into roid rage. I didn't know that a double mastectomy is
Yeah.
permanent. I didn't know that a neo vagina was going to have to be dilated every single day.
Speaking of that,
there's
you taught me something I didn't know about Muslims, where that you're going to be gay, all right, off with the weenie. I think they were onto something there.
Why are you gay?
Or if you want to be trans, off with the weenie. Because there's been I just read a story yesterday from University of Wyoming, and props to this kid for working the system. Incel looking fat dude, grows his hair out, says he's a woman, gets admitted to a sorority, and just kind of hangs out in the sorority house with a boner looking at college girls.
That's a little creepy, but
yeah,
it's stuff like
off
that.
with the
I saw a
weenie.
thing up in I saw a thing up in Canada where they recently their powerlifting federation up there recently passed a progressive gender identity thing, and so this powerlifting coach, a man, just to prove a point for that day, he's like, I'm a woman today, and he goes in and he just absolutely crushes the female bench press record, which was previously set by a trans woman. So a mediocre man breaks the Canadian record for bench press, and then a man decides to just to prove a point, say he's a woman, and absolutely just demolishes the previous record set by the trans woman, and then re-racks the weight and be like, yeah, I'm not really a woman, and this is why what you're doing is retarded, and just like walks off.
I found a picture of that guy is talking about. There he is.
Yep, that'll do it. Faces that match the opinion. Yeah, so you got that, and then you got what's going on in Scotland right now. What's going on in Scotland is taking the trans accommodation psychosis that we're seeing right now and just amping it up to 11, because what they are doing is they are seriously debating whether or not to allow male rapists who are identifying, quote unquote, as women to be housed in women's prison. They got 2 or 3 such cases where men are claiming that they are women, they are convicted of rape, and the government is like, oh golly, did we put these in with the women? It's like, no, No, you fucking brainlet. Of course you don't.
Because it's
What the fuck is
such a
wrong
fucked up
with
idea.
you?
They can't cut it off. They can't pick a point to cut it off because the whole premise makes no sense.
Right. And the thing is, right? There are a few sincere
I'm willing to admit
trans
that.
people who are just
Your
they
brain's
just want
wired
to
different.
exist.
You
And you know
think
what?
like a lady, act like a lady for some reason. Sure.
Right. Yeah, you know what? I still think there's something wrong with you and there's another way to help out, but I don't hate you. I pity you. But, if you want to live your life and you just want to exist, be my guest. I have nothing against people just existing. The problem is that you have a whole bunch of people like fucking rapists that are that boner guy macking on sorority chicks, right? People like this that are using your proclivity to tolerate anything because you are in a dogmatic cult. You are so terrified of calling these people out because you think it's going to be a moral inconsistency that you are allowing weirdos to shack up in sororities and beat their meat like it owes them money, and you're putting rapists into female prisons. There is something genuinely wrong with that. And the people, the sincere trans folk that just are out there to exist, not proselytize, not shove it into anybody's face, those are the people that need to be speaking out the most. They're like, hey, maybe this is going a bit too far.
Shit, they've hijacked the whole gay movement. It's all about trans now.
Right. Yeah. And there is a movement, a social media movement called LGB without the T, where it's coming to a head where the gays are saying that this whole trans thing is going way too far. We are becoming way too accommodating to you people. You are too visible. You are too out there. It is causing a social contagion where you are confusing children into doing irrevocable, irreversible harm to their own bodies in the name of whatever it is that you're doing. And to me, it's almost religious, and it's almost like the biological imperative for a demographic that is incapable of breeding. They are sterilizing themselves with genital mutilating therapies and cross-sex synthetic hormones. There's no way for them to make more of themselves, so they have to take somebody else's kids. And I know that sounds insensitive. I know that sounds mean. And for all I know, they don't even know that they're doing it. But is a horse mating with another horse when it's that time of the season? Is it consciously aware that it's making more horses? Probably not.
Yeah. The left needs to realize that this whole thing's going to sink them. Like the right, the right's big on free speech. And there was a moment, kind of pre-Trump, maybe a little bit at the beginning of Trump. I don't know why weirdos come out of the woodwork when they find the movement they can latch on to, but literal Nazis, not what the progressives say is Nazis. They were coming out of the woodwork because, free speech, we can say whatever we want. And finally, the right was like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. I mean, that's what the left needs to do with these trans weirdos that are taking it way too far. Not the legit people that we're talking about. Right. And how do we know who they are? You don't, because your movement's been completely hijacked.
Right. It's like how do you know somebody is a sincere trans person? You won't, because they don't talk about it. They don't make it their entire personality. They don't run around wearing shirts that say this is what trans looks like. They're not in your face crying, striking you and claiming that you're hurting them. Playing the victim, talking about trans genocide all the time. Like, nobody's hunting you down in the streets trying to genocide you.
That's
you're
right.
not a genus. You're not
It's
a
a genocide.
species.
You guys aren't
Nobody's
necromorphs.
right. You guys, you're not your own species. Nobody's trying to hunt you down. You've got a 42% or higher suicide rate. So if anybody's genociding you, it's you yourselves. And on top of all of that, like, maybe they do sincerely believe that if they can't convince children to join their little death cult, maybe, it would be like if Hitler didn't kill Jews, he just sterilized them.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a genocide?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. So in their mind, it's like, by denying gender transition surgery for minors, you are sterilizing us. You are making it impossible for us to perpetuate our species, and therefore genociding us. Maybe that's the thought process when they're talking about trans genocide, because nobody is hunting you people down.
It seems like every week there's some story.
Although fucking keep it up.
Every week there's another story about some drag show at a middle school, and parents get pissed off because they're rubbing their crotch in kids' faces and stuff. It's like, well, it's rotten to the core of the whole thing. Education, it all ties into it.
Yeah. It's so weird. So weird. Like, the children need to be exposed to this so that they learn tolerance and acceptance. It's like, you are a disgusting caricature of femininity. That was the appeal of drag shows. It was comedic because it was so over the top and weird. And you guys are making it out to be like some type of a lifestyle or something that needs to be accepted. What did I say last week? If you have to normalize something, it's not normal.
How does some dude in a dress teach intolerance? How about, these are usually white upper class schools. How about you bring in some freaking migrant workers and some dudes working at the Denny's to hang out with kids? That'd teach them a lot more tolerance, and they learn a lot better life lesson than hanging out with a drag queen.
Yeah, it's never done for the children. It's done for the performers, and it's done for the perpetually wine drunk upper middle class moms with Munchausen's by proxy. Because they think maybe this is too spicy a take, but I think a lot of these women, and it's usually almost always women, who are bringing their kids to these wacky drag queen story times thing, I think a lot of them want their kids to be confused, because if their kids are confused, the possibility of, I've got a gay son, I've got a trans daughter, and it's like, their lives are so boring and devoid of substance that they're going to sacrifice their children on the altar of virtue signaling in order to bring some type of recognition into their lives.
Feel good.
It's child abuse is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we said, the manifesto of the shooter, they're not letting it be released because I'm sure it's got some. They've come out and said the only comments I've seen on it is that it would cause more problems to release it. So it's like, what did she say? I mean, was she calling for violence against school? I mean, she probably didn't just come up with those ideas of her own. I mean, all those people do is hang out on the internet all day. So, there's a whole bunch of other people that were thinking just like her.
And there's going to be that thing in Washington, D.C. this Saturday, too. I think they're connected.
What they call it, the Day of Vengeance?
This person just jumped the gun.
Yeah, great name.
Trans Day of Vengeance.
Maybe I'm off. Maybe the Glowies are in their movement already. They're syncing it. This is how they're syncing it. Trans Day of Vengeance. That, maybe. If anything gets people on your side, it's vengeance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Payback was a
John
great
Wick, I
movie.
guess. We're gonna have the four. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Shout
saw
out
it,
to
didn't you?
if you watch our other shows. I mean,
Yeah.
Mad Pig
It's
Customs gun got a lot of screen time.
playing it at 6:45, so I might have to go maybe see it this
Yeah, when
weekend.
it popped, I was like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I know that guy. When that gun came up.
Yeah.
The only unfortunate thing, bunch of nations inked a deal with the Saudis not to use the dollar to buy oil. Okay.
Well, it was nice knowing you, U.S. dollar. You had a good run.
Buy Bitcoin, right? Because that's valuable. Manifesto probably attempts to educate people about all the pitfalls of being trans. That's an angle I hadn't thought of. What if it's a manifesto railing against big pharma, everybody that talked her into becoming trans?
Yep.
That would be an even better
It's a
reason
possibility.
for the media not to want it to get out. That a trans person is talking about how fucked up in the head they are. And that's why I said, she got to live the full male experience. Getting fucked up in the head by your government, getting gunned down, raging out.
Yep.
Full male experience right there. She got it all in a day.
Yep. I think I don't know. I think that that's a very good angle and a good theory, but judging by how she was dressed, she was clearly trying to emulate the right-wing white male aesthetic. Plaid shirt, camo pants, backwards red hat, tack vest. So there was an image that she was trying to present, which I don't know why you wouldn't go out and just buy a MAGA hat, why you would buy just a plain red baseball cap. MAGA hats are everywhere, especially in a place like rural Tennessee.
I didn't realize
But
she had the whole.
I
She
don't
was
know.
trying to go tactical, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't think to buy plate armor though.
Yeah.
I kind of think they shot her in the face because everything you see her
Thank
face is
God.
blurred out. I mean, it looked like he had a shotgun. Is what he did. What did he do her in with?
The body cam footage that I saw, the guy had a very nicely equipped AR, with like the LPVO is making a comeback again. I don't think it ever went away, but I guess the internet gun lords were convinced for a hot second there that the holographic weapon sight with 3 to 5 power magnifier, flip to the side magnifier, was the ideal setup. And then this happened, and everybody's like, "Nope, LPVO, LPVO is the way to go."
Must have been a headshot then, because face blurred out and she dropped like a sack of shit. I mean, there was no movement after initial shot there at all. Just, and I've seen enough internet videos to know that that's what does you in right away, like that instant drop off. Two in the chest, face gets the rest.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, done.
Nice central nervous system shot right in the T-zone.
But I think that was all the clowny stuff I had.
Yep.
I'll have to look into that Saudi thing. That's kind of a big deal. What are they going to use? The yen or whatever
it's a very big deal.
Yuan or
yuan.
Ruble.
Yeah, I heard something about this today that they were talking about it. The Chinese are in agreement with the Russians to buy Russian oil in yuan. The Saudis, I had heard something about them talking about possibly accepting other currencies than the petrodollar, which is not a good thing if you use the dollar. And oh shit, that's me. I use the dollar.
Dang.
Oh no. But But again, I think it's all part of the plan to intentionally collapse the dollar in order to usher in the central bank digital currency in the same way that the stock market crash of the 30s was designed to usher in the Federal Reserve. This is just the same tactic playing itself out again. Crisis
Yeah, I saw that
reaction
JP
solution.
Morgan said a recession is inevitable at this point. So I don't know. The whole thing's fucked. It doesn't even seem to matter anymore. Yeah, it's all fake money. Buy stuff of value if you get some extra money.
Yeah, we're heading into the Weimar Republic phase, I think, fairly soon, where people were buying stores of value,
Land,
art, furniture, musical instruments, land. Yeah, anything. Buy things. Don't invest in currency. That's not financial advice because I'm broke as a joke.
You can live in your vehicle. You can't drive your house.
Stuff.
Don't forget that.
Yeah. Stuff usually retains value pretty well, and barter has been around for as long as humankind has been existing.
Yep.
So
get your garden ready.
Take that with a grain of salt.
Thanks for joining us. Get your garden ready. Stay honky.
Yep.
See you next week.